This segment is sponsored by The Key. June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, a national observance dedicated to raising awareness about Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Joining us now is Shadi Golizadeh to provide expert insight into the critical role caregivers play in supporting quality of life for those living with Alzheimer's and other dementias. Welcome to Great Day Washington. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So, Shadi, what are some of the early warning signs of Alzheimer's disease that families often overlook, and when should they seek help?
So, one of the most important things for families to understand is that Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, we're not talking about typical aging. So, anyone might forget a name or misplace something, but when it becomes concerning is when you're noticing changes that are persistent or progressive or that are starting to interfere with daily life. So, if someone is having challenges managing medication or paying bills or preparing meals, staying safe at home, and it's also important to remember that Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, but it's not the only one. And different types of dementia can show up differently. So, memory loss might not always be the first and only sign. So, it's great for families to be aware of some of the other signs. Things like getting lost or disoriented in a familiar place, subtle changes in judgment or problem solving. So, this might show up as unpaid bills, unusual purchases. What matters is looking at the person's baseline. So, if you have someone who is historically very financially responsible, suddenly they have all these unpaid bills, that's more concerning than someone who is never really on top of their bills. Withdrawal from usual activity. So the person might stop going to social events or hobbies or family gatherings. Sometimes changes in mood or personality. So the person might suddenly seem more anxious or suspicious. Sometimes apathy, just not seeming like they care about very much anymore. And loss of insight. So a common symptom is that people don't really recognize the extent or severity of their changes. It's not denial, it's not stubbornness. It can just be part of the brain changes. So they think that they can do much more safely than they're actually able to do. And so I would just say, seek a medical evaluation whenever you notice a change that's worsening or repeated, or you're noticing safety concerns. Don't panic. There are many reversible contributors too. So that's why it's good to start with a primary care provider. So if someone is having sleep problems or depression, medication side effects, even thyroid, vitamin deficiencies, there are many types of changes that can mimic cognitive change. And so I would just say, go to a primary care doctor, get a memory screener, and just remember the memory screeners don't always tell the whole story. So if family is noticing changes, just keep track of them, have specifics so that when you go to your appointment, you have specific examples that you can bring with you too.
Wow, all really, really great advice. Thank you for sharing that. And as more families choose to care for loved ones at home, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that caregivers face when supporting someone living with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia?
Well, I always like to start by saying that many families are doing an extraordinary job caring for their loved ones at home. And with the right support, people living with Alzheimer's or other dementias, they can continue to have comfort and routine, quality of life, a lot of joy at home. One of the biggest challenges that comes up for families, though, is that they start to confuse love with doing everything themselves. And just remembering that there's a lot of support and that help can come in many forms. It might be in home care to help with daily routines, safety, respite, but it might also be a geriatric care manager. So, this is a wonderful profession that many people don't know about. They're also called aging life care professionals. They can help coordinate medical appointments. They're kind of like the quarterback and coordinator of care. It might be involving an elder law attorney or professional fiduciary for financial guidance. So, there are many different types of professionals and trusted advisors who can come in to support, because it's also about the caregiver's well-being. And we know that many caregivers report high emotional, physical stress. And so bringing in support is not at all a sign that a family is failing. It's actually often what allows families to sustain the care long term and to also maintain their role as a spouse, partner, daughter, son, friend longer.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shadi. Where can people go to learn more information?
So people can go to thekey.com. We provide in-home care and we provide all sorts of information. There are wonderful advocacy groups out there too, the Alzheimer's Association, the Dementia Action Alliance. And so, when people are concerned, just getting support early, getting help early is really important. Early diagnosis can help in terms of setting up a really solid roadmap. No family should have to navigate dementia alone. And with the right support, whether it's medical, legal, home care, care management, people can live wonderful lives full of joy at home.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, to learn more about Alzheimer's care, caregiving resources, and support services, visit thekey.com. That's where families can access educational information and connect with experts who can help them navigate every stage of the journey.